I know. I took a breath and then I didn't want it to start like in the middle of it, Okay, I'm good. Hey, what's cooking? This is Jessica and Amy, and we are here to talk to you today about what a personal food culture really is.
Before we get started, we are not health professionals at all. We've done a lot of research on this, but it's been more about the mindset behind it. If you are having problems with disordered eating or any personal health problems, we would encourage you to go seek out a Health at Every Size dietitian, and we have a link in the description for that to find one in your area.
Also, if you are happy with your food culture and you love the way you eat food, what you eat, how you eat it, and the way your family, if you're totally happy with that, disregard everything that we're saying, because really we're only talking to the people who feel like there's something missing. They feel like they need to change, they're just not sure what they need to do.
What do you think is wrong with America's food culture? Why are we even doing this?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is eating family dinners together. If you don't eat them together, you're more disconnected. Maybe you don't get time to reconnect. If you eat them together, you can, just be happier as a family and learn how to lean on each other, which makes your life easier in general.
Absolutely. I think that's a big strength that we saw through lots of different cultures, and there's a lot of science to back up that makes us happier.
It does.
And I think food is really political and controversial in America. I think that's one of the hardest things for me, is that there's a lot of guilt and stress around what we're eating. Absolutely. And we're really defensive about it.
We really are. A lot of the times it leads to dieting, even though it doesn't make us happier with our bodies, and somehow we end up eating more than we intend and just feeling guilty about it all the time. And it creates a yo-yo effect that isn't healthy physically or mentally. So if you relate to this, like we said earlier, we don't want you to feel guilty. This is America's food culture that has taught us to be this way, and we know better than anybody. We've been through this, and it's just a part of living in America. What we'd like to do is help you move forward and find a personal food culture that works for your family.
Absolutely. And when we first started on this journey, we studied a lot of different countries around the world, like the Japanese, the Italian, the French, Mexican, and how they eat. And this is what surprised me, is initially I looked at what are they eating that's making them so different? And then it kind of turned into how they eat that was the biggest difference to me, their mindset.
It was so apparent in every culture. They loved how they ate because it brought them together, and it created friendships, and they ended up nurturing each other and being overall happier people because
Absolutely.
of it.
And making healthier food choices.
Yes. So we've talked about what a food culture is in general, but what is a personal food culture? What's the difference?
Well, I think with the personal food culture, it has a small amount to do with what we're eating, but I think for the most part, it's more about how we're eating and that mindset behind our food. Kind of how often are we eating? Why are we eating? What are we thinking about ourselves and feeling when we're eating? And who are we sharing our meals with? Are we eating alone does it kind of become a destructive thing? Or are we eating in a way that's building ourselves up, and as well as the people around us? So to me, that's what a personal food culture means.
We all have a personal food culture, and it's going to be different for everybody, and it should be. You need to take a minute and think about, what is your personal food culture? What does it mean to you to sit down and eat, and what are you doing? Who are you doing it with? Does it bring you closer to whoever you're around, and does it nourish you and the other people around you emotionally as well as physically?
Right. And I think for me, Jessica, the top two commodities in my life are time and money.
Absolutely.
And I didn't think that eating this way would save me either of those, but it did a lot. And I think with time, we spend a lot of time thinking about food in America, and it's like we're obsessed with it. And we worry a lot about it when we're not eating, and we're also kind of constantly grazing and picking at things.
Yes.
And when we took that away and started eating more purposefully, I noticed I had more time. And though I was taking that time to relax, it helped me to be more productive in between my meals.
Absolutely.
Also, money is a big thing, and we obviously save a lot of money not eating out as much, not grabbing as much snack foods, but having purposeful meals, we can get a lot more bang for our buck.
Absolutely. And that's such a big deal when you're starting families. Have 5 children.
Yes.
It makes a difference where you're eating and where you're buying your food.
Yeah, it does.
It should also be something that you can maintain long term. This should be something that when you come across a stressful couple of weeks, this should help keep you grounded and keep you emotionally stable rather than feel like it's something that's just too hard to keep up and you've got to let it go.
Yeah.
It should be something that you don't suffer through, that it lifts you up instead.
Right, and something that's nourishing everyone at the table. You don't have to eat, you don't have to cook 4 different meals for everyone.
Yes.
Now, I think that really sums up what we think a personal food culture is. So you have it, it's less of what you're eating, it's more of how you're eating, why you're eating, the mindset behind it. If you're interested in this, if this is something that's really hitting home for you, maybe get out a piece of paper, take 10 minutes and write it down. Write down why you're eating. Most of the time when you're picking up some food to eat, why are you eating? Are you hungry? How you're feeling when you eat? Who's with you? What you're doing when you're eating? All of these things. What type of time are you putting into your meals? And how is that serving you? And kind of write down how it's looking right now. And then write down what, in a perfect world, meal times would look like for you and your family.
Right.
And this is not a guilt thing. This is not like comparing how you are to how you should be and feeling terrible.
Treat it as a daydream.
Yeah.
You're just thinking about, in a perfect world, what would eating be like to you?
And I think to get that vision and kind of think about that over this next week, and then next week we're going to start on this, we're going to make a plan of how to actually obtain your personal food culture. So if you're like on board already and you're like, I'm ready to make a plan, you have your paper out, you're already writing down your stuff. Okay, so we're going to make our, you looked at me like it.
I would never grab a piece of paper out and write a YouTube video. I would never do that. Just FYI. So like, who's grabbing their paper? It's not me.
Okay, so maybe you're not grabbing a paper, maybe you're not so gung-ho. Think about it this week, write down those things, and join us next week and we'll get started on how to get there, what to do to get to your own personal food culture that is actually fulfilling in your life.
So like and subscribe below so you can be notified when we do release that video, and we're looking forward to seeing what everyone else's food culture really looks like.